Here are the worked answers for the practice questions you were sent. Question 1. Which line in the table is correct for the polar covalent bond in hydrogen fluoride? Well, we need to compare the electronegativities of these two elements, and we can look them up. Page 11 of the data booklet. Fluorine has a higher electronegativity, so that tells us there's a greater attraction for the electrons in the bond. They'll be closer to fluorine. It's slightly negative, hydrogen slightly positive. So now we just need to match up with the possibilities and the answers here. So I need one where the electrons are closer to fluorine. I've got A or C. I then need to find one where we've got delta negative beside fluorine, delta positive beside hydrogen, and that is A. So our answer is A. Question 2, which line in the table is correct for the polar covalent bond in water? So again, how are the electrons shared, where are the dipoles? So we'll get our data booklet open again, page 11. Here's hydrogen, here's oxygen. We'll get the values. Oxygen has the higher electronegativity, so the electrons will be closer to oxygen, and it will be slightly negative in comparison to hydrogen. So again, we just need to match this up now. So one with the electrons closer to oxygen, it's B or D. We also need a positive dipole at hydrogen, negative at oxygen. So it's B will be the correct answer for this one. Question 3 is the same type, and this time we're looking at iodine and fluorine, so electronegativities again. Fluorine 4.0, iodine 2.6. Fluorine has a greater attraction for the electrons in the bond. They're closer to fluorine, it's slightly negative, iodine is slightly positive. Over to our options then, looking for the ones where the electrons are closest to fluorine, A and C, and then we need delta negative at fluorine. And our possibilities are those, but the only one that matches in both places is C. Question 4, which of the following compounds has the greatest ionic character? So we're looking for the greatest difference in electronegativity. So we get our values from the data booklet, and we can see that the biggest difference will be between barium and fluorine. That's the one with the greatest ionic character. Question 5 is looking for the least ionic character, so the smallest difference in electronegativity. Least ionic character is the least difference in electronegativity, and that will be with lithium chloride. Which of the following bonds is least polar? Smallest difference in electronegativity. So the pair with the smallest difference in electronegativity, the least polar, is hydrogen and iodine. This time it's which is most polar, so the biggest difference in electronegativity. Looking at the electronegativity values, you can see the most polar, greatest difference is the oxygen-bromine bond. Carbon will form a non-polar covalent bond with an element that has an electronegativity value of what? Non-polar covalent is a pure covalent bond, so the electrons are going to be shared equally between carbon and whatever the other element is. We need to know the electronegativity value of carbon. The same electronegativity value, there'll be no difference, there'll be equal sharing. So it's going to be D is our answer there. In which of the following molecules will bromine carry negative charge? Well, for bromine to be slightly negative, it needs to have a higher electronegativity than one of the other elements there. So bromine electronegativity is 2.8. The only one it will be higher than is bromine with an electronegativity of 2.6. Atoms of sulfur and element X form a bond in which the electrons are shared equally. So again, we need the same electronegativity. And sulfur electronegativity is 2.5, and that's a match with carbon. Which of the following bromides is likely to have least ionic character, so smallest difference in electronegativity? One with the smallest difference will be magnesium bromide. So this question is the same as before, except now we've got structure, so it might look just a little bit different. Highest polarity will be the biggest difference, which is going to be A.